Woo! Well, let's do this. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Rick's Pro Truck. RPT. I don't really think that you should give Casey at Rick's Pro Truck in Madison Gluckstadt too hard a time because they, Notre Dame lost. Really, they were dominated, but it was a hell of a run. I can't not like Marcus Freeman. In fact, I like him a lot. I think he's pretty awesome. So, but yeah, Casey's a big Notre Dame. Look, if you want to wear an Ohio State shirt in there or Northern Illinois, I'm okay. Pull over, I'm okay with it. That I am. So, Casey's the manager at RPT Gluckstadt Madison. Rick's Pro Truck, spray-in bedliners, lift kits, tires, and wheels are all powered by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. This is 105.9 The Zone ESPN. And breakfast this morning is brought to you by Burgers Blues Barbecue B3 in Dogwood, Flowwood. They've got their famous honey butter chicken biscuit. And then they've got the smoked brisket and scrambled eggs. You can go chicken and waffles. B3, Burgers Blues Barbecue, Dogwood, Flowwood. We welcome in Blake Levine, WJTV. The man, the myth, and the legend. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Did you get a jog in this morning outside, Blake?
No way. I went to Syracuse, and there's still no way I'm going out in that cold.
Okay, I just thought it may almost feel warm to you since you were up in upstate New York for several years as a college student.
You know, I've been in the South for 8 years now. I think I've lost it all.
Where are you from, New York? Where are you from?
No, I'm actually from Los Angeles.
What? Get out of town. Are you serious?
Yeah, you know what? I'm from Los Angeles. I went to Syracuse, Tallahassee, Greenville, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. Like I said, I just get lost. So, and then I'm just there for a couple of years.
Did you grow up Lakers, Dodgers? Tell me what's happening here.
No, grew up a big Mets fan, which was even worse to watch the Dodgers beat them in the NLCS this year, and all my friends just text me BS, and then I gotta watch them sign everybody, and yeah, it's honestly a disaster. It was a horrible mistake not rooting for champions.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, the Dodgers are spending like $450 million. So, how did you grow up? Was there a tie from your dad or an uncle or something, or your mom? What was the deal? You're in LA. What was the tie to the Mets?
They were in the World Series when I started Little League against the Yankees in the Subway Series in 2000, and everyone was a Yankee fan. So I decided to be a Mets fan. But here we go. I like to be really different. You're not even going to believe this. I'm a Detroit Lions fan, too, so this weekend was just hell. I root for the Fighting Irish. I root for Notre Dame. I root for the Detroit Lions. And I just have to watch this. And these are all childhood teams. Great-grandfather played for Newt Rockne. Family likes the Lions. It was just a disaster, to be honest with you.
Dude, I feel for you. I mean, as sports fans, we all go through hell. I mean, even the big boys, even the Yankees and Dodgers and Alabama and so on. But this has been a tough road for you, my man. We may need some out of bounds counseling for you. Yeah, the Lions thing, I was cheering for them, and that hurt me, man. Did you watch Dan Campbell in the post game, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, at some point the crying needs to stop and the winning needs to come. I mean, look, the regular season is great and all that, but you know what? You get judged by the postseason. You know that. You've seen that. You can have great regular seasons and bad postseasons. Now, it's a one-time thing, and he's done a great job. I mean, he's done an A-plus job. But at some point, they got to win, and they're going to have to replace their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, their offensive line coach, their defensive line coach. I mean, they got a lot to replace.
So are you rooting for anybody with what's left, or are you out now that the Lions got bounced?
I think I'd like to see Josh Allen win the Super Bowl. My girlfriend, who now lives in Houston right now, she went to Wyoming when Josh Allen was there, so she roots for the Bills. So I'm riding with that.
How far? We're visiting with Blake Levine, WJTV. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. He's from L.A. and Syracuse. How far is Syracuse to Buffalo, Blake?
About an hour 45 drive, depending on if there's snow or not.
Did you ever go when you were a student at Syracuse to either Buffalo or a Bills game?
Never went to a Bills game, but I went and saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers where the Buffalo Sabres play.
Dude, I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Golly, that's awesome. Kudos to you to be your age because you're a lot young. Are you even 30 yet?
I am 30.
Okay. Yeah, man. Tip of the cap to go and watch the Red Hot Chili. Was it a damn good show?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I saw him 3 times that year. So just to kind of give you perspective, I saw him at Lollapalooza that year. I saw him in Los Angeles, and then I saw him in Buffalo, New York. I'm a big fan.
Oh, that is so cool. All right, hold on.
Well, I'm not going to lie, I'm drunk.
All right, so Blake Levine, WJTV on the Out of Bounds show. What have you been doing? What have you been? I mean, I know y'all did the football stuff. You covered Ole Miss football like crazy. I know you mix in a lot of high school sports. What have you been doing lately?
Yeah, no, I mean, high school sports is our bread and butter, right? I mean, you can't get that anywhere else other than your local news. So that's always our big thing. But yeah, no, football season, this was the longest football season I can ever remember, right? I mean, am I the only one that's feeling like this football season's been forever?
Yeah, it has, no doubt.
Yeah, and when you're working it feels even longer. Yeah, so we've done that, or we've done a lot of that, and then we're really big on basketball right now, high school basketball, and then once the soccer playoffs for high school soccer, we'll get into that. Okay,
so you're marching towards the big house, and so on, and I guess Mississippi College, but you're doing a little bit of everything. What was your takeaway from the Mississippi high school football playoffs, Blake?
Yeah, a lot of upsets, I thought, in the championship. People kept laughing at me because I think I guessed 2 out of the 7 right, and then I
sounds like me.
Then I was the dumb sportscaster, which I appreciate. At least you cared what I said. Well, or maybe not, or maybe they were just happy I was wrong. I thought that there were some really good games. I mean, Poplarville beating Louisville was just awesome. Watching that sophomore Keys kid run, brilliant. Brandon, though, I got to just feel for them. I mean, how many more times can you sit and knock on that door? Speaking of the Buffalo Bills, it's starting to get that vibe.
It's fun. We have a listener, Blake, named TJ, and the morning, or I guess the weekend after, he said Brandon high school football is the Buffalo Bill. It was one of our first texts. And I was like, man, that doesn't hit well because it's a hell of a program, but you're right. They're ready to hang the banner. You just mentioned the Lions. I mean, it's all about the postseason. You were there. How devastating was that?
Oh, it's really devastating. I mean, look, you're right. I mean, the way that high school football is set up now, practically everyone makes the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, you think about it, 24 teams in 7, 6, and 5A, and 16 teams make the playoffs. More teams make the playoffs than not. And in the private schools, everyone makes the playoffs outside of maybe a few teams.
Right.
So it kind of diminishes the regular season. So really you're just prepping for these playoff games, and Brandon's going to beat the brakes off their first 2 opponents so that their season almost is for 2 games. And I got to think that it's almost somewhat mentally draining in some ways not having as much competition throughout the regular season. And in the North, I feel like Tupelo has to face Madison, Starkville. Even though Clinton was down, they did beat Brandon this year. I just feel like the North has a few more teams routinely that test their opponents.
Interesting. Okay. Now, the rotation, this year was at Southern Miss, right?
I love it. It's awesome.
Does it still go to Starkville and Oxford, or is that out? I don't know. I don't even know about the bid process or how that all works.
Yeah, I think it's a year-to-year thing. I believe it's a year-to-year thing. It's been at Southern Miss, I think, 3 out of the last 4 years. and they do a really good job. Kudos to that whole staff over there. They treat the media great. The venue's great for it. It's awesome. I do really like it. Now, doing Starkville and Oxford, it's great. The problem is sometimes the real grass becomes an issue by the end of the weekend, and that can be tough. And those stadiums are a little bit bigger. So sometimes because you're not going to, be full for any specific game, it kind of it loses a little vibe.
Okay. I haven't been since Cam Akers was a senior, and that year was in Davis Wade in Starkville. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, that guy. He did everything. He parked cars, sold concessions, and threw touchdown passes and ran for TDs. It was pretty sick. We're visiting with Blake Levine, WJTV. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. If you thought you had a tough sports week or month, Blake just got raked over the coals by multiple teams: Notre Dame, Lions, Mets, and maybe we're still counting here. What did you make of Ole Miss being teed up? We talked about it all year, Blake. I know y'all were all over it. Lane's done an amazing job. They had a good team. They built this thing up over 3 or 4 years. They had the schedule. They had a ton of veterans, and they lost a 1-7 Kentucky team. What did you make of the way the Ole Miss football season played out?
I thought they were a really good team that lost a game that they shouldn't. I thought the team was very similar to the year before, where they went 11-2. Their running back room wasn't as good, but their defensive line was better. At the end of the day, I think sometimes people view things through a prism that, we have this, so it will be automatic. Well, do you know how many other fan bases viewed their team the way that Ole Miss fans viewed their team? Probably a lot. Probably Alabama, the Clemson, South Carolina. Sorry, Clemson made it. But you get the picture of there's not 12 schools that view their school as a top 12 school. There's probably 30 that really think, we have a shot this year. And look, Ole Miss had their chance. And even after the Kentucky loss, the reality is they still controlled their destiny, because Ohio State could lose to Michigan this year and still win the national championship. No longer does every game really matter in the regular season as long as you don't lose a bunch. And there was no room for whining. I mean, all the Ole Miss fans that were crying about their team not making it, like somehow they were going to beat Penn State or Notre Dame even if they got in the playoffs. Their job, if they would have got in the playoffs, is they would have probably gotten blown out anyways.
Wow. How do you see this thing going now? They're losing a ton of players, but they're in the top 2 in the transfer portal. Still, they had all these veterans like Walter Nolan and Dart and Trey Harris and Paul and all these guys. Now they still have the schedule, and they still have Lane and Golding. Do you think that they can reload and be right back there and make the college football playoff this year in 2025?
Yeah, I think they're in about the same spot as they were last year. Their schedule's not very hard, and I really like the Austin Simmons kid. I really like him. I think he's going to be really impressive, and there were even odds put on him for the Heisman. Not super high, but there were some odds put on him for that. And I think their defense is still going to be good. They still have some defensive linemen I really like. They're going to have to fix the corner spot, and then Lane's. This was the first time in Lane Kiffin's career he didn't have good running backs, or at least a running back group that was consistent. I'd like to think that was an outlier, and that he'll have a better running back room this year. I think at minimum they're 8 wins, and I know that sounds funny. They're like, no way they can win 8. Well, they lost to Kentucky at home this year with a quote-unquote super team to the fan base.
Right.
I think at minimum they're 8 wins. I do see a path where they do get that 10-win mark, and they could sneak into the playoffs, but national championship hopeful, no.
Okay. Blake Levine, WJTV on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, straight out of Syracuse, and he joins us on 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Yeah, I'm interested with that schedule, Blake, because road games, I think their home games will be tougher. Florida and LSU at home it is tougher. And Georgia away. Somehow Mississippi State's played them good. Mississippi State's been awful these last 2 years, and they were somewhat competitive games. But at Oklahoma is intriguing to me to see with Venables. They weren't good this past year. I think the schedule may be a little more difficult. Not that much. Still one of the easiest ones in the league. How do you see it?
Yeah, it's definitely harder because I don't think LSU is going to be as bad, and I think Florida is going to be a lot better, and I agree with Oklahoma. No road game in the SEC is ever easy unless it's the select teams at the bottom any given year.
MSU.
So any road game, and the fact that they're going to have to play 4 road games, I'm guessing 3 of them will be battles. So, and they may lose 1 or 2 of those. Now you go back to the home games, and I think you make a great point. Florida and LSU at home, you would look at that and go, oh, I hope we can split that. Well, if you look at the rest of the schedule, well, that means you can only have 1 more loss somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a tough sell when you got to go to Georgia.
That's true. I think Georgia will, they were not close to what they've been. And I expect them to bounce back. I don't know if they'll be what they were 4 years ago, but I expect them to bounce back. How do you feel about Hugh Freeze on the hot seat at Auburn and their top 5 in the portal, along with or top 6 or 7 in the portal, along with LSU and Ole Miss?
You and I would need to talk on the podcast with how I feel about Hugh Freeze. I'm not a huge fan of Hugh Freeze.
No, how about this?
I'll believe in Auburn and love it. War Eagle.
Well, he's got to win this year, Blake, or he's done. They're not going to put up with that down on the plains. And he lands Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. I think he's a talented kid. He was thrown into the mix in a tough situation. You think Freeze can get to 8 and settle people down at all?
Maybe. I don't know. I've kind of lost it with him. Can I say a quick note that I think you would find fascinating?
Yeah.
Do some quick math real quick. How many SEC coaches were fired this year?
None.
None. When was the last time that happened?
Oh, I can't imagine.
Right. I'd love to go back and look. None were fired this year. How many are on the hot seat this year?
Sam Pittman, Hugh Freeze, Jeff Lebby.
Yeah, right. By the way, Napier is too. Because if he fumbles with that kid and they go under 500, he's gone too. Brian Kelly.
Yeah, they owe Brian a ton, and he has won games more than Freeze and Napier. I think it's warm but not hot. So I would say the hot seat is Hugh Freeze, and Sam Pittman's just keeping a seat warm, right? He's just on credit.
Right.
And I thought Lebby would get 3 years, like without question, and he still may. And that may be the right move. But the fact that he's running it back with that defensive staff absolutely blows my mind, Blake. Your thoughts?
Thoughts? I got a lot of thoughts on that one. Jeff Lebby, can you tell me, and you know what, State fans really get frustrated with me. They think I hate State, and I don't hate State. But let me ask you something. Zach Arnett's resume before he was hired and Jeff Lebby's resume before he was hired, how different were they really?
They weren't.
Okay, great. Zach Arnett did better in his first year than Jeff Lebby did in his first year. He got canned before the season was even over. That's not a debate. So now Jeff Lebby goes into year 2, and if they go 3-9, that's it. That's it. With the transfer portal and the way that NIL and all that works, no, that's it. We already know.
Yeah. So you don't feel like he'll make it?
No.
Okay.
But here we go. But let me say something. I don't mind being wrong.
Oh, I don't either at all. Doesn't bother me a bit. My God, we have to pontificate and speculate and guess on thousands of things over the course of the year, or hundreds. Man, this was fun. I know you got a show coming up, and I saw you on Twitter, and I thought, why haven't I had Blake on again? So thanks for hopping on. We need to do this like twice a month, and I hope to hang out, maybe break bread and grab lunch. I'll buy you lunch soon, and I hope you're doing well. Stay warm, my man.
All right, thank you for letting me come on.
See you, dude. Blake Levine, WJTV on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. That was good. We talked a little bit about where he's from, Los Angeles, went to Syracuse, unbelievable broadcasting journalism school, upstate New York, an hour and 45 minutes from Buffalo. Somehow he became a Mets fan, and with the Dodgers in his backyard, who have, cashed their ticket a couple of times here recently, and they're spending like crazy. I wish the Cowboys would do that.
Just defer the payments.
I mean, it doesn't matter that they're making so much money on their local and regional broadcasts, not even counting the national. And I understand that the national baseball contract is nothing close to the NFL. But if you look at what local markets like the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Cubs and several others make, it's insane. The Dodgers are printing money at Chavez Ravine. And, buddy of mine went last summer. They've got a new deal. They're doing well, and they've decided we're going to spend and win and still make money on merch and tickets. And like I said, their local broadcasting is like national deals, because you're covering just a huge chunk of California and obviously all of Los Angeles, which bleeds out into, their suburbs are 10 times bigger than the Jackson Metro.
Right.
They're doing well, man. And their TV and multimedia and radio and everything else is huge. That was fun.
They're ruining baseball.
What?
They're ruining baseball. Making super teams.
Well, your Red Sox can spend money.
Yeah, I know. I like it.
What'd you tell me your Boston Celtics are selling for $6 billion?
Yeah.
With a B.
Just a cool 6B.
The Boston Celtics are selling for $6 billion.
Finalizes tomorrow.
To the Red Sox ownership group, right?
Correct.
Isn't LeBron part of that group?
He is. The Liverpool group.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. There's several celebrities in there, right? All right. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're driven by Mack Hike Auto Group and their 5 dealerships in the metro area. The text line is 601-885